this is Hong Kong. People talk of it as an interesting place, filled with mystery, laughs, and excitement, they say. Not really my scene.
Hello, my gaming friends. Welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm Jonathan, your host here at QuickBird Gaming. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of How Does It Play Today? My series where I look back on games celebrating their 25th anniversary. Since as of this recording, it's 2025, I'm doing games from the year 2000. And for this episode, I chose the game Hitman Code 47. Now, this is a game that, or a series even, that I know very little about. I know it's had a lot of games in the series, but I had never played it and didn't really know what to expect. I thought maybe I'd be getting kind of a stealthish sort of game. So I figured I'd give it a shot. And I'm kind of wishing I hadn't. On the surface, this game has a pretty standard setup. You're working as a hitman for some mysterious international agency, and at the beginning of each mission, you'll be given a mission brief that kind of tells you what it is. You'll have your goals that you have to do, your aims, additional intel information, a brief look at the map, and a chance to buy certain equipment from the rewards you've earned. All pretty standard stuff. I should have known I was in trouble when I tried to go to the default controls. The control scheme, the game defaults to using the number pad, but if you try to load the standard WASD setup, you actually get a SZCX setup with W as your sprint button. Now, I know WSAD wasn't a complete industry standard in 2000, but it was really gaining traction, especially after Half-Life used it in 1998. And there's just some real oddities here, like toggle sneak as 4 rather than C or Control or Alt. You know, Shift should have been your run key. And you can't hold your forward walk and hit the Shift button or hit the sprint button, the run button at the same time. You have to release forward walk and then hit the run button. So the control scheme was just really kind of nonsensical, non-intuitive, and kind of clunky. You can reprogram it, but that should have been a harbinger of things to come. After you've got your controls set and you've gone through all your mission objectives and bought your gear, you're free to roam around the mission's map and try and figure out the best way to do it. The maps, I wouldn't say they're necessarily tiny, but they're not huge either. They're decently sized. I read somewhere somebody said that there's gear and equipment scattered around the maps, but in general, for the first couple of missions, you didn't really need that. You could get by with the weapons you had, and the maps will give you a idea of where you can go to get your mission done. Like this map showed me where elevators were, so I could get to a rooftop to use a sniper rifle and shoot down the gang negotiator. You notice I was able to activate the elevator button there by using the action key, which is spacebar. Bear that in mind; it's important later because you come to find out that to get back down, you have to use a right mouse button click to activate the menu in order to pick your floor. That's never mentioned in the game's controls. It's not even an option in the game's controls. I had to figure that out intuitively, so that wasn't great. Anyway, once you're up there, you can kind of set up and take your rifle out. You noticed I was running around with it in a briefcase. Nobody will bother you. And you'll see the gang members arrive. And by the way, every time you do the mission, you'll have to endure these cutscenes where the gang members arrive. Both of them. They're not skippable. And you will probably be doing the missions multiple times each time. And you'll have to watch all these cutscenes again and again. Anyway, once you're there, you can take your rifle out and get ready to take your shot. And that's when the fun starts. Anyway, after you get lined up and your target is in position, you can take your shot. I admit it took a few tries for me to get this right. I missed once or twice. But once you finally get him, then you want to escape. Now, I spent so much time fumbling around on the rooftop trying to replace my rifle in its case that I was ambushed by this helicopter, which appeared out of thin air because helicopters can totally do that. And then you're stuck in this unskippable cutscene as this Tong member spots you, and he gets ready to turn you into hamburger. I'd get used to that screen because you are probably going to be seeing it a whole lot as you play this game. The reason I stress putting your weapon away is that if you don't have a weapon in your hand, hostile forces won't engage you unless they see you doing something. So if you can make a kill or take out a bad guy without them seeing you and put your weapon away, even if there's a body in view, like that one, because in this particular case, I just shot the guy out of the helicopter. even if they see a body, they won't suspect you. You can move around and be none the wiser as long as nobody witnesses you do anything. This game also features stealth takedowns, as you see I'm about to take out this guy with the garrote right here. And a feature that have never seen before in a game. I suspect it was unique when this game came out, and that's the ability to swap clothes with a victim and assume their identity, so you can move freely among their peers. You see, I just threw his body in the sewer to dispose of it, and now dressed as a chauffeur, I'm going to walk back up here to the other gang members as soon as I get the rope out of my hand, and I should be able to move freely amongst them because wearing the uniform that makes them less suspicious. Now, granted, you would think that this dude standing here who either knows me, is supposed to know who I am, or saw me just drive up with his boss would recognize that I'm not the same guy. But it is what it is. In this case, having the uniform on gives me the freedom to try and plant a car bomb so I can take him out. Overall, after having played a few missions, I do have to say that I think stealth is a much more effective course in this game than trying to go in and go ham. Don't get me wrong, the combat is actually relatively fun. The weapons feel tactile and effective, and you can do a surprising amount of damage in a short period of time, just blasting people left and right, and take down quite a few folks. However, I will say it can be pretty dangerous. It's a good way to get killed, especially when you get multiple enemies on you. And going too violent, if you too much bloodshed and too much chaos, it can cause you to fail your mission objectives. You're supposed to be a hitman, see, not a mass shooter. So, consider that as you go into these scenarios. There are multiple ways to do business, but there's usually only one really correct way. And that's why I kind of say the game is more like a puzzle, really, than a stealth game or a shooter. It's a puzzle game where you're trying to figure out the exact right solution. Besides, Hitman is similar to games like Deus Ex or Thief in the sense that there's a lot of satisfaction in sneaking into an area, setting up a well-conceived approach and plan, putting the pieces in motion, executing it, and walking away completely undetected. Unfortunately, that's where the good times come to an end. Hitman Code 47 also has a large number of game-breaking glitches and bugs. Not graphical kind. It ran pretty well on modern hardware. I'm talking about things that prevent you from finishing the missions. For example, in the third mission, you're required to take out this negotiator from the Chinese tongs, plant his amulet in a restaurant where you're going to murder the corrupt chief of police to set the police and the tongs on each other. So I tried to impersonate him and sneak in. The cops frisked me for weapons and they found it, which wouldn't have been a big deal. I would have just gone back and tried something else. But instead, when he finds a weapon, he pulls his gun on me, and now I'm standing here, and standing here, and standing here in a cutscene that I can't break out of, and more cops assemble, and assemble, and assemble. And this just goes on for about 30 to 40 seconds, until when the scene finally does release, they just perforated me. And even if you manage to complete all your objectives, the game may not even register it. This again was in Mission 3. I finished everything. I accomplished all my objectives. I ran back to the car, which is kind of your entrance and exit point for the missions. You kind of go back to the car when you've accomplished all your objectives. I clicked on it and waited to see what would happen, to see if the objectives would update. It says they're all complete, and nothing happened. I tried a few more times to see if it had just gotten hung up, but it never did. It never did work. It kept telling me, you've accomplished all your goals, but it wouldn't end the mission. So it kind of left me in this null state where I couldn't complete the mission. I couldn't exit. I couldn't do anything without completely quitting the game, even though I had accomplished all the missions. It didn't even tell me I had failed, like I had killed too many police officers and failed, and give me the option to start over. So that's kind of a foul, in my opinion, that the game just glitched, even though it says you've done all the work, but you don't get the credit. So, Hitman Code 47, how does it play today? Well, it plays like ass. It probably played like ass when it first came out. In fact, I'm pretty sure that if I had played this back when it released, I wouldn't have enjoyed it then either. I compare it to some of its contemporaries, like the original Deus Ex, which Even though I think it still has some problems measured against today's games, it's a far superior product to this one. And GTA 3 was released less than a year after Hitman Code 47, and it is by far a superior game. So this has not stood up well, and I really would not waste your time with it. I understand some of the later Hitman games that released in the last 5 to 7 years are good. People have told me they're good, although I haven't played them. But with this version, I think it's safe to leave it buried in the past where it belongs. Don't waste your time with this. All right, I'm going to leave this one here. I think I've babbled on about this one long enough. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it. And if you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to the channel. I do the How Does It Play Today videos through the year. I do reactions. I also do a weekly news feature where I talk about the state of the games industry. And that's I try to hit the biggest stories and let people know what's going on out there. If you disagreed with me about Hitman and you think it's great, throw a comment down below. I will read it. I read all comments and we can get in a conversation. I never take this stuff personally, and I love to talk about games. If you have a game you'd like to see featured in the How Does It Play Today series, we got a few more months left in 2025 for games from year 2000, and we'll be soon moving on to games from 2001 as we roll into 2026. So, thank you once again for tuning in. I appreciate that. You all go out there, live your best lives, and you all stay gaming.